pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Hastings, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Dalton.
Present.
Mrs. Dam.
Present.
Mrs. Gilman.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy.
Here.
Mrs. McGovern.
Here.
Mr. Schneider. Mr. Talarico.
Present.
Mr. Weinstein.
Here.
Mr. Paralamas.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, President's report. So just two brief announcements. The Spartan Scholars program is going to be on October 28th. I distributed the invitation to that to everyone at the work meeting. You should have also received it digitally via email. Please ensure that you respond if you plan to attend. It'll be at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. And next week we have New Jersey school boards down in Atlantic City. So the board will be attending that. There are workshops for that where they can learn about governance and other issues that are affecting our schools. They're able to attend that in Atlantic City. The board will be in attendance for that. So I look forward to that, and we'll report back on that after it's complete. That's all I have. We're going to move on to Mrs. Weldon.
Student report.
So we'll go on to our students. Please, Molly and Grace, thank you.
Okay, so in the high school sports, the boys soccer team is currently tied first place in the B North Division. And yesterday they played Newark East Side, which is a top 20 team in the state. The girls soccer team had a very exciting short conference win over Toms River East today. They scored with 15 seconds left, and that was scored by Mia Fiorentino. And that was the first time they won a short conference tournament game since 2011. Our field hockey team senior night is tomorrow versus Freehold Borough. Very important game. This week in football, we play a short regional on Friday, and it's our homecoming game. For girls cross country, Leah Starkey, who is a freshman, just set the school record for running a 5K in 18 minutes and 10 seconds. And in gymnastics, they just competed against Trinity Hall today and won their 10th meet.
In general activities, we have our first pep rally of the year this week on Friday. This week is also Spirit Week for homecoming. Today was Twin Day. On Thursday is 8th grade open house, and we have club photos coming up on October 21st. In DECA, their first major event, DECAWeen, is coming up, and officers and a few select members are going to Kane on Thursday for a leadership conference. The Hispanic Culture Club last week had their Spirit Week. It was very successful, and today the club hosted a Hispanic Heritage Month school-wide assembly. The Student Council has recently had a meeting with Mrs. Kazuba to have an open discussion regarding the reception of new policies in the school, as well as some future happenings. And then in class officers, the senior sunrise was held last Wednesday, and it was super successful.
Thank you, ladies. Homecoming next week, a great opportunity to experience the light show. I have not yet seen it. I hear that it is a fantastic thing for us to see.
This Friday.
Sorry, this Friday. Yes,
This Friday.
This Friday. Misspoke. Against Shore Regional, a team that we should definitely beat. Hopefully, yes. Individual who's coaching that team and needs to feel the pain. All right, thank you. Moving on to our superintendent's report.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to see everyone. I'll just repeat what I said upstairs in our work meeting. There are many, many exciting events happening in our schools in the next few weeks. Student-centered events, events with students and staff, homecoming being one of them. An opportunity at the high school for our 8th graders to come over and see what it's all about, to be a Spartan at OTHS, to paint a pumpkin at our elementary schools. A number of things are coming up this month, and I encourage everybody to take a look at our school calendar and come out to the events, support our students, and support the staff who work so hard to make these events a reality and a fun experience for our students. So tonight, I am going to recognize a few of our staff members. This is something new, but we are looking to recognize more and more achievements of staff and students. So when I think of different ways, or I come across ways that we can do that, I'll be bringing it here forward to a board meeting. So this evening, for the first time, we are going to honor staff members who have earned their tenure this year. Okay, so I would ask the principals to come on up. These staff members are not in any particular order, but as your name is called, Please come forward. I'm also going to ask the TOEA president, Mrs. Conley, if she'd like to come forward as well to congratulate our staff. Just for the audience's sake, tenure takes you work for 4 years before you earn tenure. And on your 5th year, on the first day is when you are recognized for earning tenure. And it's a great milestone in an educator's career and an important one for us to recognize. Okay, so I'd like to first introduce Miss Haley Arnold. Come on up. Miss Lori Gable, I do not think is here this evening, and Miss Maggie McGrory also I don't think could be here, but I'd like to just recognize them. Miss Natalie Miles, come on up. Miss Tyler Miller. Miss Monique Sue. Miss Virginia Woolley. Mr. Carl Lawson. And we have online Mr. Greg Cologne, who also earned his tenure. So congratulations to Mr. Cologne. Congratulations to the staff. If you would step in front of the backdrop here, we'll take a quick photo of all of you. Congratulations. There you go. If you're here in support, you're welcome to come forward and take a photo. Feel free. Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations again. Okay, we have one more recognition this evening. They actually don't know they're being recognized for this, but I'd like to ask Dr. Morgan to join me up front and help me with this recognition. Okay, October is National Principals Month. Our principals are sitting here in the back of the room. They come every month to these meetings and they participate and they connect with our public as well as what they do every single day on a daily basis to make our schools the wonderful places that they are for our students. And it would be remiss to let October pass us by without recognizing the hard work of these 5 individuals. So I would like to introduce and ask you to come on up to receive your certificate. Our principals, Mrs. Dawn Kazuba, Ocean Township High School. Mr. Kusamana, Ocean Intermediate School. Mrs. Melissa Lepusnik, Ocean Township Elementary School. Mr. John Bosmans, Wanamassa Elementary School. And Miss Denise Kalea, last but certainly the leader of the pack, Wayside Elementary School.
I'm gonna take your picture of Mr. Franklin this morning.
Yes, please go right in front of the backdrop, get your photo taken. Congratulations. Congratulations. Much thanks and appreciation for all you do.
It's good. It's good. Thanks. Absolutely.
Great job. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Principals, you have to stay. But if anyone else would like to go on, this would be the time to do it. Thank you so much for being here and congratulations again. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I forgot. Thank you.
Good job.
Mr. McCarthy, that concludes my report. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walden. Give everybody a moment to exit the auditorium. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to Mr. Hastings for the school business administrator's report. Mr. Hastings,
I have nothing additional, Mr. Vice President.
thank you very much. And we will move on to public comment regarding agenda items. The following are a series of motions to be read by the committee chairpersons. All motions have been discussed at a recent public work session. Some motions have been approved at a public work session, and the minutes for the approved items are posted on the district website. At this point in the meeting, we will now conduct the first of two public comment sessions. The first session will be open for the public comments on agenda items only. The second session will be at the end of the meeting and can be on any topic. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Public comment is not a question and answer session. Specific questions can be directed to the administration. The superintendent's contact information is on the podium, and we encourage you to contact her with any questions that you may have. Public participation shall be governed by the following rules. 1, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes in duration. 2, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. 3, the presiding officer may request any person to leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Would anyone from the public like to comment on any agenda item at this time?
Good evening, Alex Hayes, Oakhurst. Great presentation by the high school principal this evening, and congrats to the staff making tenure and all the principals. Ms. Weldon, sorry I wasn't able to call you back this week, but thank you for calling me back after last week's meeting. I did not see an agenda in the back for the work session. I only saw for the regular meeting. So perhaps for the public, we can have both agendas printed up. Just curious what the health and safety checklist actually looks like. I know the document that's signed is in the public session, but not what the actual checklist is. I'd never heard of that unless I'd missed it over the years. Also curious on the CUSAC, there were on the final page, I think it was, maybe it was under personnel when there was a score of 82. It was all yeses, but it was an 82 score. So all the other pages that had all yeses had 100 score. So I was just curious what the math was like on that. On the bills, Mr. Hastings, Savas, we pay $60,000. I was curious if that's per month for the Savas learning program, or if that's like intermittent. And then lastly, when you asked if there was anyone in the public that wanted to ask any questions about the presentation, nobody knows that you can ask questions about presentations. So it was never made public. So I don't know if anybody even might have been here had they known that. So maybe when there is a presentation and you guys are actually allowing questions on those rare occasions, when you post on the Facebook page that there's an upcoming school board meeting, maybe you could actually say, we will entertain questions tonight because there's actually a presentation. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. Is there any other public comment from anyone in the room? All right. Thank you. Mrs. Conway, do we have anyone in the queue on Zoom?
No, Vice President McCarthy, we have no commenters in the queue.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to move on to the approval of minutes. Mr. Dalton?
Approval of minutes from the October 1st executive session, Mr. McCarthy.
Move to approve.
Move to approve 5.1.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
For item 5.1, Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern.
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to personnel. All of these items were discussed in executive session. Mrs. McGovern?
Yes, I'd like to move to approve items 6.1 through 6.10. May I have a second?
Second.
All items 6.1 through 6.10. Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. McGovern,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
motion's carry.
Wonderful. Moving on to financial management and resource services, Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I'd like to move for approval 7.1 through 7.11.
Thank
Can I have
you.
a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Hastings?
So all items 7.1 through 7.11. Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes to all, except I'll accuse myself from 7.6.
thank you. Motion's carry.
Thank you. Moving on to instruction, education, and student activities, Mrs. Gilman.
Yes, Mr. McCarthy, move to approve items 8.1 through 8.4, our suspension, school trips, PD, and HIB reports.
Second.
Mr. Hastings?
All items 8.1 through 8.4. Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
all items carried.
Thank you. Negotiations discussed in executive session. Moving on to policy again, Mrs. Gilman.
Yes, this is the second reading of and final revisions to the policies and regulations listed. So if there are no further questions, move to approve our third reading and final revision.
Second.
I'll go down.
This is item 10.1. Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, moving on to public relations, Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. I'd like to move for approval 11.1 and 11.2.
And we're going to move 11.1 with the revision.
Change from programs to program.
All right. Does everyone understand that? Wonderful.
Second.
Thank you.
Just clarity in sentences, that's all.
Point of order.
This is item 11.1 and 11.2. Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
motion's carried.
Thank you. Do you have any old business from any members of the board? Old business? All right, hearing nothing. Do I have any new business from members of the board? No new business. All right, thank you. Public comment. Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. This is not a question and answer session. Specific questions can be directed to the administration. The superintendent's contact information is on the podium, and we encourage you to contact her with any questions. The same rules mentioned previously still do apply regarding public participation, that each statement made shall be limited to 5 minutes in duration. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. The presiding officer may request that any person leave the meeting when that person does not observe reasonable decorum. Would anyone from the public who is present here like to comment on any item at this time? This is.
Alex Hayes Oakhurst again. Sorry, let me find my train of thought here. On the bills this month, I think every month, you guys, I'm sorry, Mr. Hastings, there is College Achieve Public Charter School and Hope Charter School. As many on the board are probably aware, like in Asbury Park, for example, they are demanding that those charter schools provide proof that the students that they're billing us for, or they're billing Asbury for, actually live in the town. So I'm just curious if we're doing that as well. Before Dr. Stefankowitz left, he said he was going to implement almost like a checks and balances for students who go to who live in Ocean, but who go to other schools to verify the addresses, because I know 2 years ago, it was proven that we were paying for several students who lived outside of Ocean, but we paid for them to go to, the county magnet schools. And that's what precipitated there being some sort of checks and balances. So I bring that up because in tonight's meeting agenda, you were talking about out-of-school public school tuition, out-of-district public tuition, to the tune of $650,000, and that's 74 kids that are going to the county's amazing, incredible academies. So I'm just wondering if we've checked the addresses for everybody, because that was supposed to be a new policy for that, but also for the charter schools. And then I think I might have a smidge more time. When Miss Kazuba is here, I was just wondering when the next committee meeting is for parents and school administrators for the high school class time, going from 82 minutes to possibly something else. Wondering when that next one is. I meant to email Miss Kazuba, but since she's here, I'll just ask. And then I guess my last one is on the town council candidate forum. One of the candidates mentioned that she has talked to many school board members about shared services, about property on Cindy Lane. And she said, quote, she's talked to many school board members. So I'm just wondering when that was, what's being discussed, what are you guys doing? What's the deal with Cindy Lane? Because it's been brought up now in several town council meetings that there's talks with council and Board of Ed, and I haven't heard anything on the record, so I'm just wondering what that is about. Thanks. Just gonna sign my name here.
Thank you, Mrs. Hayes. Do we have any other members of the public who wish to make comment on any item at this time? All right. Mrs. Conway, do we have anyone in the queue who would like to make a comment online on any item at this time?
No, Mr. Vice President, there are no commenters.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion. Second.